I thought tonight would be just another dinner. I had no idea it would turn into the most terrifying night of my life. One stranger, one choice, and suddenly I was running through the streets, my heart pounding, protecting someone I barely knew. And that's when I realized everything I thought I knew about courage, kindness, and trust was about to be tested like never before. Stay with me, because what happens next you won't believe. Hey, tell me something. If you were in my shoes tonight, running late, seeing someone struggling in the store, and then walking into a mansion where your future mother-in-law is waiting, what would you do? Drop your guess in the comments right now. I'm seriously curious. I never thought a single invitation could mess with my entire week, but here I was, staring at the glossy envelope on my kitchen counter, my hand trembling a little. Emily Parker, it read in elegant, almost intimidating cursive. My stomach did a little flip. This wasn't just any dinner. This was the Parker estate, one of those massive houses that make you feel like you're tiny just by standing outside. And the kicker. I was invited by Alex, my boyfriend, who had this casual, too calm smile like he wasn't even nervous, but I knew better. His mom, Veronica Parker, was, well, let's just say she had a reputation. Sharp as a tack, dressed in designer suits and known for judging people before they even finished saying hello. Everyone whispered about her at work, in cafes, online, like she was some kind of social general. And me, I'm Emily. I prefer cozy thrift shops to high-end boutiques, homemade lasagna over catered hors d'oeuvres, and I have this annoying habit of speaking before thinking. Not exactly Parker estate material. Alex slid the invitation across the counter like it was nothing. Come on, Em, you'll be fine, he said, his voice too calm for my taste. I laughed nervously and tucked the envelope into my bag. Fine, really, nothing about this felt fine. I imagined the chandeliers, the silverware, the walls lined with oil paintings of people who probably judged strangers for fun. My mind raced through what I should wear, how to sit, what to say, and honestly I had no clue. The night of the dinner, the city felt colder than usual. My heels clicked nervously on the sidewalk, and every streetlight seemed to spotlight my panic. Alex held my hand, but he wasn't really helping. You'll be okay, he whispered, but I felt like I was about to walk into a lion's den wearing neon pink. I tried to remember that it was just a dinner, just people, just a test of my social something. Then on the corner of 7th Street I saw her, an elderly woman hunched over her grocery bags trying to count coins with shaking hands. Her face was tired, worn, and her eyes, they caught mine. And right then something inside me snapped. I couldn't just walk by. I dug into my bag and with a sigh I handed her a couple of bills, then grabbed the rest of her groceries to help her carry them to her car. She smiled, a little teary-eyed, and murmured, "Bless you, dear." I glanced at my watch. Shoot, dinner. I was already late. My heart raced as I sprinted toward the Parker estate, guilt tugging at me for being late, but warmth spreading inside me for that small act. Little did I know this small choice would change everything tonight. And just as I reached the enormous front doors, I heard Alex's voice, strained, "Emily, you're late." My stomach sank. This wasn't going to be easy. What happens when your small act of kindness collides with a world built on perfection? You'll never guess what happens next. The Parker estate was wow. Massive, like way bigger than anything I'd ever stepped foot in. Marble floors that gleamed under crystal chandeliers, mirrors so huge they made me dizzy, and this faint scent of roses and something else, like expensive perfume mixed with power. I tried to steady my breathing, telling myself, "You've got this, Emily. Just breathe." But my heels betrayed me, clicking too loudly, announcing my arrival to the entire mansion. And there she was, Veronica Parker, leaning slightly against the doorway like she had all the time in the world, her eyes piercing into me like X-ray lasers. Sharp grey suit, hair perfectly coiffed, lips a subtle but intimidating shade of red. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Emily, so nice of you to finally arrive," she said, voice smooth, polished, almost rehearsed. And in that moment I realized this wasn't just a dinner. This was an exam. Every word, every gesture, every second of my being would be analyzed. Alex squeezed my hand, whispering, "Don't worry, she's just Veronica." "Yeah, thanks, that helped not." My stomach churned as I tried to smile naturally, but I felt more like a nervous cartoon character than a young woman making a good impression. The dinner table stretched across the room, massive and intimidating, adorned with silverware I couldn't even name. I slid into my seat, careful not to knock over anything, and immediately felt Veronica's gaze shift to me like a spotlight. "So Emily," she began, leaning back in her chair, "Alex tells me you're quite the helpful type." Her tone was light, but her words carried this subtle challenge. I blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, I guess, I mumbled, feeling my cheeks warm. Did she know about the grocery store incident? No way, I mean, it wasn't a big deal, right? Alex cleared his throat nervously, avoiding both our eyes. She's very thoughtful, he added weakly, like I needed saving. My heart sank. Did he just make me sound like some overachieving kid in a spotlight? The conversation started casually, small talk about the city, work, hobbies, but everything had an edge. Every compliment from Veronica felt like a test, every question a subtle trap. I laughed when appropriate, nodded in agreement, tried to hide my shaking hands, and oh, I wanted a drink so badly, just to calm down. Then something unexpected happened. Veronica paused mid-sentence, smiled softly and said, "You know, Alex forgets sometimes that it's not about impressing people. It's about what you actually do, not just how you look doing it." My ears perked up. Did she just praise me, or was it a setup for some huge disappointment? Before I could respond, a waiter brought in a tray of appetizers. As I reached for a plate, my scarf slipped from my shoulders. I didn't think twice. I bent down to grab it, and it fell onto the floor near Veronica's side. She picked it up, looked at me, and suddenly the way she looked at me shifted. Something told me this night was far from over. The tension wasn't just about a mother judging her son's girlfriend, it was about something deeper, something I wasn't fully aware of yet. And right then, as the silverware gleamed under the chandeliers, I realized the real test hadn't even started. Would a single act of kindness really matter here? Or would it all crumble under the weight of expectation? You won't believe what happened next. I barely had a chance to catch my breath when Veronica's eyes shifted ever so slightly, landing on me like she was measuring my soul instead of just my face. "Emily," she said smoothly, "I hear you helped someone today. Was that intentional?" I blinked, my stomach dropped. Intentional? I didn't even think anyone would notice that little moment at the grocery store. I guess I just wanted to help," I said, my voice wobbling. Alex's fork clinked against his plate. He looked panicked. His eyes darted between me and his mother like he was praying I didn't mess this up. I swallowed hard. Oh boy, this is exactly what I was afraid of. Veronica leaned forward slightly, her fingers resting elegantly on the table. "You see, Alex," she said, her tone calm but sharp, "it's easy to follow rules and wear the right outfit and smile at the right time. But when no one's watching, that's when true character shows." I felt a weird mix of pride and terror. She wasn't scolding me. She was testing me. My hands were sweating in my lap, and I kept adjusting my scarf like it would somehow make me look less nervous. Dinner continued, each course arriving with impeccable timing, but every bite felt heavier than the last. Veronica kept tossing questions at me, all subtle, all probing. "Have you ever done something unexpected for someone else?" she asked. "Something no one would ever know about?" I tried to stay composed, recalling the groceries, the smile of the old woman, her shaky hands. "Yes," I said softly. "I helped someone today without thinking twice." Her eyes softened slightly, and for the first time I caught a glimpse of warmth behind the perfectly sharp mask. But before I could relax, a new tension entered the room. Alex cleared his throat. "Mom, can we not make this weird?" Oh man, I sighed inwardly. He really didn't want this conversation. I could feel it. His jaw was tight, his fingers tapping on the table, like he was counting the seconds until he could escape. Veronica's smile widened just a little, but her eyes twinkled with something I couldn't read. "We're not making it weird, Alex. I just want to see who she really is." My heart pounded. Wait, does that mean everything from now on is a test? I tried to eat my salad, but my fork felt like a heavy sword in my hand. Every move, every word, every laugh had to be measured, but the more I tried, the more I felt like I was failing. Then, out of nowhere, Veronica's lips curved into the smallest smile. "Emily, sometimes the smallest actions, like giving someone your scarf on a cold day, can tell me more about you than any fancy resume or sparkling dress ever could." I froze. Did she know? Could she really have known about the scarf? I glanced at Alex. His eyes widened and he looked mortified, but I couldn't tell if it was embarrassment or pride. My chest tightened as I realized the truth. Tonight wasn't about perfection. Tonight was about me, my choices, and whether I could stay true to myself under the weight of judgment. And right as I felt a tiny spark of hope, Veronica leaned back, her expression unreadable, and said something that made my stomach drop again. "There's one more thing you should know about tonight, and it will change everything." What could she possibly mean? You won't believe the twist waiting just beyond that doorway. I could feel the air shift in the room like a storm brewing behind those polished walls. Veronica Parker's words still lingered, heavy and deliberate. "There's one more thing you should know about tonight, and it will change everything." My fork hovered over my plate. My heartbeat pounded so loudly I was sure Alex could hear it. "Emily," she continued, her voice soft but sharp enough to slice through the tension, "the woman you helped earlier today, she's someone very close to me." Wait, what? My mind spun. Close to her? Was she talking about family, staff, maybe one of her aunties? She leaned forward, hands crossed elegantly on the table, eyes locked on mine. "That woman was me." I blinked. "What?" I laughed nervously at first, like maybe I misheard. "Wait, you were the old lady at the store?" "Yes," she said, calm as if she'd been expecting my shock. "I like to test people, see their character before I truly judge them." My stomach flipped. My heart raced in a way that made my throat feel tight. All those little jitters, the panic, the stress I felt tonight, it wasn't just a dinner, it was a test, and somehow I had passed. Alex slumped slightly in his chair, his jaw tight, eyes darting between me and his mom. "Mom, you did that, and you didn't tell me." His voice was half laugh, half sigh, but I could see the disbelief etched all over him. Veronica's smile was soft, almost triumphant. "Sometimes, Alex, people's true colors show when they think no one's watching. Emily, you didn't just help someone, you helped me without hesitation, without thinking about how it would look, without worrying about a meeting with me tonight. That matters." I felt my chest swell. Relief, yes, but also this weird, dizzying mix of pride and embarrassment. I had no idea this small act of kindness would matter so much, or that it would hold the weight of someone's judgment, someone so intimidating. Alex finally looked at me, eyes wide and a little guilty. I don't even know what to say. You actually did what I wish I could sometimes. And here I was stressing about how to impress my mom." He let out a sigh that sounded almost like laughter. "Man, you make me look bad." I shook my head, smiling a little teary-eyed. "You're fine, Alex, I just did what felt right." Veronica leaned back, eyes studying us both, her expression softer now than I'd ever seen. "Emily, tonight isn't about who can look perfect. It's about what you do when no one's looking. That's what really defines you." And just when I thought the weight was lifted, she added something that made my heart skip a beat. "But this is only the beginning. There's another choice you'll face tonight, one that will truly show the strength of your heart." My stomach sank again. Another test, right here, right now. I felt a mix of excitement and dread, like standing on the edge of a cliff. My mind raced. What could she possibly mean? I glanced at Alex, who looked equally confused and worried. The air felt thicker, the chandeliers a little brighter, the silverware glinting ominously. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't just about kindness anymore. It was going to be personal. And that's when I realized, this dinner wasn't just a meal. It was a turning point. One choice tonight could change everything between me, Alex, and even Veronica. What could possibly happen next when kindness meets hidden expectations? You won't believe the shocking twist waiting just around the corner. The dinner felt heavier now. Like the chandeliers above weren't just lighting the room, they were spotlighting every thought, every emotion. I tried to focus on my plate, but the food blurred into meaningless shapes. My mind kept replaying Veronica's words. "Another choice tonight, one that will truly show the strength of your heart." I glanced at Alex. His hands were clenching and unclenching, his jaw tight, and I could tell he had no idea what was coming. Maybe just relax," he whispered, but his own voice betrayed his panic. "Relax," with Veronica Parker hovering like a hawk. I wanted to laugh, but it came out as a nervous squeak. Veronica leaned forward, her eyes locking onto mine again. "Emily, there's a situation I need handled tonight. It's delicate." My stomach dropped. Delicate. I already felt like my life depended on the answers I gave at this table. "I'll try my best," I said, my voice trembling slightly. My palms were sweating under the weight of her gaze. She gave a small nod, then her lips curled in the faintest smile. "There's a young boy in the neighborhood," she began softly, "who's going through a rough patch. He lost his home recently. His family, they don't have much, and he's been struggling to stay in school." My chest tightened. I had grown up volunteering at shelters, helping kids, tutoring, and sometimes it broke me to see the world so unfair. My heart ached already. Veronica continued, "I want you to speak with him. Tonight, you'll need to convince him to trust someone, to see that kindness exists even when life's been cruel. And Emily," her gaze sharpened just slightly, "he's scared of people like me, The rich, the polished, the ones who look perfect but don't really care. My throat tightened me. Convince him, I swallowed hard. I can try, I whispered. My voice felt tiny in that massive dining room, but I meant it. I wanted to do it. Alex groaned under his breath. Mom, you're really pushing her tonight, huh? I couldn't help but smile a little. Even he could see the impossible weight of the challenge, but somehow, deep down, I knew I couldn't back down. Veronica's smile softened. Emily, this is your chance to show that kindness isn't just a moment. It's a choice you make even when it's hard, even when no one's looking. That's what defines you. I felt my chest swell. I didn't care about appearances anymore. I didn't care about being perfect. I cared about doing the right thing. And right now that meant stepping out of my comfort zone and trusting my instincts. Alex leaned over, whispering, Hey, if anyone can do this, it's you. You've got this. I smiled, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. I left the table and stepped outside into the crisp night air. The city streets glimmered with lights, and somewhere nearby, a frightened boy waited for someone he didn't trust. And me, I was about to walk up to him, knowing that my next words could either break or heal him. I took a deep breath. This wasn't just a test for dinner. This was a test of heart, courage, and the kind of person I really was. And just as I reached the corner where I'd been told he would be, a shadow moved, and I realized this wasn't going to be just a conversation. Something unexpected, something that could change everything, was about to happen. You won't believe who or what was waiting for me. The night air hit me like a cold splash of reality. My heels clicked nervously on the pavement, and every shadow seemed larger than life. I was supposed to meet the boy Veronica had told me about, the one who had lost his home and trust. My heart raced, not from fear of the streets but from the thought of failing him. I reached the corner she mentioned, near a dimly lit park, and my eyes scanned the area. A small figure sat huddled on a bench, hoodie pulled over his head, knees tucked tight to his chest. My stomach knotted. He looked tiny, fragile, and somehow wary, like he expected the world to let him down again. Hey, hi, I called softly, careful not to startle him. He lifted his head, revealing dark eyes that were suspicious, wary, and maybe a little scared. My chest ached. I knelt a safe distance away, hands folded in my lap. I'm Emily. I was hoping to talk, if that's okay. He didn't move for a long moment. Then he said, voice barely above a whisper, Why would you care? You don't even know me. I swallowed hard. You're right, I don't. But sometimes caring doesn't require knowing everything. Sometimes it's just about showing up. He looked at me like he'd never heard that before. And maybe he hadn't. The air between us was heavy with all the broken trust he must have carried, every adult who promised and failed, every door closed in his face. I wanted to tear down all those walls with words, with actions, with a little bit of my heart. I don't have a place to stay, he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. School, everything, it's all messed up. His eyes darted away, ashamed. My chest tightened. The stories Veronica told weren't exaggerations. This boy's world was small, cold, and frightening. I get it, I said softly, leaning just a little closer, but not too close. I've seen hard things too, but sometimes one small act can change everything, like a scarf or a meal or even just someone listening. He flinched slightly at the word listening but didn't move away. Listening doesn't fix anything. I smiled, trying to keep my voice gentle. No, it doesn't fix everything, but it's a start, and maybe a start is all anyone needs sometimes. For a long, tense moment we just sat there. The park was quiet, the distant city lights shimmering off the wet pavement. And then he asked the question that made my heart skip. Are you really here for me? I nodded. Yes, I'm really here for you. A tiny, almost imperceptible crack appeared in his armor. He sighed, a long, weary sound that made me ache inside. Nobody's done this for me before. My chest tightened even more. I wanted to hug him, to tell him it was okay to trust, to let someone in, but I knew I had to tread carefully. It's okay. You can start small, just one thing, one choice. He looked up at me, eyes glistening, and for the first time I saw hope flicker, fragile like a candle in the wind. And that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Someone else was watching us. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, and it wasn't who I expected. I froze, my heartbeat thundered. Who was this? What were they doing here? And how would this change everything tonight? I froze, every nerve in my body screaming. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped into the dim glow of the street lamp. My breath caught. It was Veronica, thank God. but someone I wasn't expecting at all. "Emily," a familiar voice said, low and tense. My heart leapt then sank. It was Alex, but not the calm, smiling Alex I knew. This was Alex with a storm in his eyes. His jacket rumpled like he'd been running, his tie half undone. I had to make sure you were okay," he said, voice catching, almost shaking. The boy on the bench flinched, wrapping his arms tighter around his knees. "Who's that?" he whispered, suspicion in every syllable. I felt a pang of guilt. I hadn't warned him. But Alex stepped closer, hands raised slightly, trying to show he meant no harm. "Hey, it's okay," I said quickly. He's my boyfriend. Alex, this is," I paused, realizing the boy hadn't even introduced himself yet. "He's, someone I met tonight, someone very brave." Alex's eyes softened when he looked at the boy. "Hey there," he said carefully. "I'm not gonna hurt you, I just wanted to see if you were safe." His tone was awkward, nervous but sincere, and somehow it worked. The boy blinked at him, his suspicious gaze flickering like a candle fighting wind. I could feel my chest tighten. This wasn't just a test of kindness anymore. This was a test of trust. Could this boy, who'd been let down so many times, trust anyone tonight? Could he see that we were here because we cared, not because it looked good or served a purpose? The air was tense, heavy with expectation, and I realized how small and fragile this moment was. One wrong word, one wrong move, and everything could crumble. I swallowed hard. "Look," I said softly, "tonight isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about what we do when it's hard, and you've been strong just by showing up here." The boy's eyes glistened faintly. "Strong?" he asked, voice barely audible. "Yes," I said, nodding. "Strong, because you didn't run, because you're here, because you're you, that's what matters." Alex stepped a little closer, cautiously. "I get it now," he muttered, almost to himself. "It's not about me or my mom or anything like that. It's about doing the right thing even when it's scary." I smiled at him, relief washing over me. "Exactly," I said, and for a fleeting second everything felt possible. Then the boy suddenly looked over his shoulder, eyes wide, and whispered something that made my stomach drop. "They're coming." My heart skipped. "Who's coming?" I asked, urgency tightening my voice. He shook his head. "I don't know, but I've been running from them for weeks. I thought I was safe tonight." A cold shiver ran down my spine. Something felt wrong, not just wrong but dangerous. The shadows around us seemed to stretch, closing in. I glanced at Alex, his face mirrored my panic. Veronica had warned me tonight would test my heart, my courage, my choices, but nothing in her words prepared me for this. And in that instant I realized, our small acts of kindness, they might not just save hearts, they might save lives. And then, just as the distant sound of footsteps echoed from the alley behind us, the boy grabbed my hand and whispered fiercely, "Run, now." Who or what was chasing him, and could we survive the night without everything falling apart? My heart slammed in my chest like it was trying to escape before me. The boy's grip on my hand was tight, urgent, and I realized I didn't have a choice, I had to run. "Where?" I whispered, panic slicing through me, but he only shook his head and pulled me toward the darker side of the park. Alex followed close behind, his footsteps loud but determined. "Stay close," he shouted, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of adrenaline mixed with fear. The city lights blurred as we dashed between benches, trash cans, and swings that creaked in the wind. I gasped, barely keeping up, but something about the boy's determination kept me moving. "Who's after you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, but my chest burned and my legs felt like jelly. He glanced over his shoulder, eyes wide. "I don't know their names, but they want something from me, something big, and if they catch me, I'm done." Alex cursed under his breath. "Done, like seriously." He sounded scared, real scared, and that made my own panic spike. We turned a corner and my shoe caught on a loose stone. I stumbled, almost falling flat on the ground. Alex's hand shot out, catching me just in time. "You okay?" he panted. His hair stuck to his forehead and his face was pale under the streetlights, but he didn't hesitate. He never hesitated. I nodded quickly, brushing dirt off my sleeve. Yeah, let's go." We ran again, the sounds of footsteps behind us growing louder. Every shadow felt alive, every alley a potential trap. I could feel my lungs burning, my arms shaking, and yet in the midst of all this chaos, something strange happened. I didn't feel like a victim. I felt alive, needed, important, and terrified, mostly terrified. Then the boy suddenly ducked behind a dumpster, motioning for us to do the same. We crouched, hearts pounding. From the shadows, two figures emerged, tall, imposing, moving with a confidence that made my blood run cold. They scanned the area, but so far they hadn't noticed us. The boy whispered, "We need to get to the bridge, there's a safe spot there, but we don't have much time." Alex's eyes met mine. "Bridge, got it, you ready?" he asked. His usual calm was gone, replaced with raw determination, and somehow that gave me courage. I nodded. We bolted from our hiding spot, sprinting down narrow alleyways and dodging trash bins, hearts racing. The sound of pursuit was closer now, faster, heavier. My stomach dropped every time a footstep echoed behind us. And then, as we neared the bridge, I saw it, something that made me stop dead in my tracks. Not just the bridge, but someone or something waiting at the other side. Their silhouette was huge, blocking the path, and for a split second I froze, paralyzed by fear. The boy grabbed my arm. "No time, we have to go now." I swallowed hard, fear clawing at me, but I ran anyway. And just as we reached the edge, everything went wrong. A hand shot out from the shadows, grabbing the boy. He screamed. Alex lunged. I screamed too. And then I realized this wasn't just a chase anymore. This was life or death. Who grabbed him? Can we get him back? And what dark secret is hidden in all of this? You won't believe the shocking twist, waiting on the other side of the bridge. We skidded to a halt at the edge of the bridge, hearts pounding so hard I thought they might explode. The boy struggled to free himself from the grip of the shadowy figure. Alex lunged, but the figure was surprisingly fast, strong. Panic surged through me, hot and relentless, as I realized this wasn't just some petty trouble, it was serious. "Let him go," I shouted, my voice cracking, but the figure didn't flinch. Instead, a low, chilling laugh filled the night air, bouncing off the water below. My stomach dropped. Whoever this was, they weren't messing around. The boy finally wrenched free and bolted toward me. Alex tackled the figure, grappling with them in the dim light. I froze for a second, terrified. But my instincts screamed, "Do something." I grabbed a nearby metal pipe, one of those old railings on the bridge, and swung it, barely grazing the figure. They hissed in anger and stumbled back, giving us a second of space. The boy collapsed against me, gasping. "Thanks," he whispered, eyes wide with fear and gratitude. My chest ached for him, for how small and vulnerable he looked despite the fire in his eyes. "It's okay," I breathed, brushing hair from his forehead. "We're not letting them win tonight." Alex was still grappling with the shadowy figure, sweat glistening on his face. Finally, with a powerful push, he sent the person staggering back. I caught my first good look at them. A tall, imposing man with sharp features, eyes glinting with something dangerous, anger, greed. It didn't matter. He wasn't leaving without a fight. "Run," I yelled, grabbing the boy's hand again. Alex joined us moments later, panting, and we bolted across the bridge, our shoes clanging on the metal. The wind whipped around us, the city lights blurring past, but somehow adrenaline made every step lighter, faster. We made it to the far side, where the boy pointed toward a small alley. "This way," he whispered urgently. I glanced back, heart hammering. No sign of the man, but we knew he wouldn't give up so easily. Finally, we ducked into a quiet corner, panting, hearts racing. For a moment, silence enveloped us, broken only by our ragged breaths. I sank against the wall, realizing I hadn't stopped trembling. Alex leaned against me, running his hands through his messy hair, eyes wide and wild. That was insane," he said, voice raw. The boy swallowed hard, looking at us with awe and confusion. Why did you risk yourselves for me?" His voice shook. Nobody does that." My chest tightened, emotion hitting me all at once. Fear, relief, exhaustion, and a fierce protectiveness. "Because it's the right thing," I said softly. "Not because we have to, not because it's easy, but because it matters." He looked down, tears brimming, and whispered, I don't know how to thank you." Alex put a hand on my shoulder, eyes locking with mine. "Emily, you've got a heart bigger than I realized, bigger than anything I've seen." He sounded emotional, raw, and something in my chest fluttered. Maybe hope, maybe relief, maybe love. But then, from the darkness behind us, a sudden sound made us all freeze, a low, threatening chuckle. Our eyes shot toward the shadowed street, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't over, not by a long shot. And whoever, or whatever, was still out there, they had plans that would change everything tonight. What happens when the shadows you escaped come crashing back into your life? The truth is far darker, and closer than you think. The dark alley was silent except for our ragged breathing. My heart was still pounding like a drum, every nerve screaming that we weren't safe yet. The boy clung to my arm, shivering, and Alex crouched beside us, scanning the shadows like a soldier ready to strike. Then, out of nowhere, a voice echoed from the far end of the alley, smooth, cold, and dangerous. "Running won't save you." I froze, my blood ran icy. The figure stepped into the dim light, tall, imposing, and my heart stopped. It wasn't just a random thug. No, it was someone I never expected. "Veronica," I whispered, disbelief and shock twisting in my chest. Alex's eyes widened. "Wait, Mom." The boy let out a small gasp, hiding behind me, his wide eyes darting between us. "Your mom." Veronica Parker stepped closer, hands open in a way that was meant to be reassuring, but her face was unreadable. "Emily, Alex, I didn't tell you everything tonight. I couldn't. Some things, some tests are meant to reveal the truth in the most extreme way possible." I blinked, heart still hammering. You sent him into danger." My voice shook, my hands trembling. "No," Veronica said softly, voice tight. "I didn't send him, but I had to see who would step up, who would act without hesitation, without fear, without concern for appearances. Tonight was more than a test of kindness. It was a test of courage." Alex's jaw dropped. You let him almost get caught just to see if we'd help." "Yes," she said, eyes locking on mine. "Because the truth is, Emily, you weren't just helping someone. You were proving to yourself and to Alex that your heart can guide your choices even in impossible situations. That's what matters most." My chest tightened. Anger, relief, awe, it all collided inside me. The fear I felt during the chase, the panic, the adrenaline, it all made sense now. And yet something still didn't feel complete. The boy peeked out from behind me, voice small. "So, I was part of a test." I knelt down, looking into his wide eyes. "Not exactly. You didn't know it, but your bravery mattered too, and so did mine. We all did what we had to do." Veronica stepped closer, softer now, almost like she was a human instead of this untouchable, untamed force I had feared. "Emily, Alex, tonight shows that integrity, courage, and kindness aren't just words. They're actions. And the consequences, well, those are real. But so is what you choose to do in the moment that counts." Alex exhaled slowly, shaking his head in disbelief. "Mom, you're insane." He laughed nervously, but I could see respect, and maybe even admiration in his eyes. I stood there, heart still racing, realizing something powerful. This night had broken all our limits, but it had also revealed who we really were. The boy, trembling yet alive, looked at me like I was some kind of guardian angel. And I realized I wasn't perfect. I didn't have to be, but I had courage. And tonight that courage had mattered. Then Veronica's voice dropped low, almost whispering, with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "But the night isn't over. There's one final choice, one that will define all of you forever." I froze, my stomach flipped. What could be left after everything? And that's when I realized the hardest part wasn't running, fighting, or protecting someone else. The hardest part was still to come. You won't believe the choice we had to make next, and how it changed everything for Emily, Alex, and the boy. The alley felt heavier than ever. The night air pressed against my chest, every sound amplified, the distant hum of the city, our ragged breaths, the faint splash of water from the bridge. Veronica's words echoed, almost like a warning. "One final choice, one that will define all of you forever." I glanced at Alex. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear and something else, something like awe. He squeezed my hand. "Whatever it is, we face it together," he whispered, voice barely audible. My chest tightened, but I nodded, trying to summon the courage I didn't know I had. The boy stayed close to me, trembling. What choice?" he asked, voice shaking. I don't think I can handle another test." "You can," I said firmly, looking into his eyes. "Because you've already survived the hardest part, being brave when you were scared. That counts, that matters." Veronica stepped closer, the glow of the street lamp catching her sharp features. "Emily, Alex, you have to decide. Do you step forward and protect someone who can't protect themselves, or do you let fear decide for you?" My stomach twisted. Fear, of course, that's what this was about. Not just tests, not just courage, fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of loss. And in that moment I realized how heavy it had been tonight, the weight of every choice I'd made. Every act of kindness, every small moment of bravery, it had led to this. I looked at the boy, his wide, innocent eyes met mine. I can't run anymore," he whispered. "I don't want to hide." My chest ached. "Then you won't have to." I stepped forward, hand extended. Alex was right beside me, his presence steady and reassuring. "We've got you," he said, "no matter what." Veronica watched silently, her expression unreadable. And then it happened. From the shadows, the men who had chased us tonight appeared, their faces obscured by darkness, hands tense, ready to strike. My heart leapt, adrenaline spiking. The boy froze. Alex squared his shoulders, and I felt the weight of responsibility press down like never before. I realized this was the moment, our final test. It wasn't about clever tricks, speed, or even strength. It was about standing firm, choosing to act with courage and protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Move," I shouted, pulling the boy behind me as Alex charged, his fist connecting with one of the attackers. I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration, the kind of raw electric feeling that makes you hyper-aware of every heartbeat, every breath. The fight was messy, chaotic, but something inside me clicked. I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt alive and determined and unbreakable. Every choice I had made tonight, the scarf, the kindness, the trust, led to this one moment where I could finally prove that courage was more than a word. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only seconds, the attackers retreated, disappearing into the night. The alley went quiet again, leaving us panting, trembling, and alive. I sank to the ground, relief washing over me like a tidal wave. Alex leaned against the wall beside me, breathing hard, eyes softening as they found mine. "Emily, that was insane. But you never let fear decide for you." The boy looked at us, tears glistening in his eyes. "Thank you for not running, for everything." And then Veronica stepped forward, her eyes glinting in the dim light. "You see, tonight, it was never just about tests. It was about discovering who you are when the world is against you. And now you know." I exhaled, exhausted, my chest pounding, but deep inside, I felt stronger than I ever had. But just as I started to think it was over, Veronica's lips curved into the faintest, almost mischievous smile. "And yet, the final lesson isn't over. There's still one choice you haven't faced, one that will shape not just tonight but every night after." My stomach dropped. One more. I thought I survived everything, but somehow I knew the hardest part was still coming. What could this last choice be? And will Emily, Alex, and the boy survive it without losing themselves? The alley was quiet now, but the weight of what had just happened pressed down on us like a heavy, invisible blanket. I sank to the ground, knees trembling, the boy clutching my hand like if he let go, the world would collapse. Alex leaned against the wall, breathing hard, eyes wide and haunted, but still alive, still present. And then Veronica stepped closer. Her expression had softened, but there was that glint in her eyes, the one that told me she had one final lesson. "Emily, Alex, tonight isn't just about courage, or kindness, or even protecting someone else. It's about understanding the real power of choice, and it's about owning it." I looked at her, confused and exhausted. "What do you mean?" My voice was barely above a whisper, raw from screaming, running, and fear. She smiled faintly, stepping closer to the boy. "You see, sometimes the hardest choices aren't the ones that test your strength, they're the ones that test your heart. The one you make when everything is quiet, when the world is still and no one else is watching." The boy looked up at me, eyes wide, glistening with tears. "You mean like choosing to trust, to fight?" "Yes," Veronica said softly. "And more, choosing to forgive, choosing to hope, choosing to move forward even when the past keeps pulling you back." I realized then, this was bigger than any chase, any test, any fear. It wasn't about proving myself to Alex. It wasn't about impressing Veronica. It wasn't even about the boy. It was about who I wanted to be when the dust settled. Alex squeezed my shoulder gently. "Emily, whatever this is, we do it together, yeah?" I nodded, taking a deep breath that seemed to carry the weight of the whole night, and then I looked at the boy. "You're safe now," I said, voice firm but gentle, "and we're not just leaving you here, we're helping you get through this, together." His lips trembled and I could see the first faint smile break through. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. "Thank you," he whispered. Veronica watched silently, then stepped back, finally allowing a small smile to play on her lips. "You see, that's the power of a choice. You chose courage, compassion, and humanity, and that choice will ripple far beyond tonight." I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes. Exhaustion, relief, joy, it all hit at once. Alex hugged me and the boy shyly hugged me too, and in that moment I realized something huge. This night hadn't broken me. It had transformed me. We walked back toward the city lights, the bridge behind us quiet and empty. The fear, the chase, the shadows, they didn't feel like enemies anymore. They felt like reminders of what mattered, choices, heart, and the courage to act even when the stakes are terrifying. Alex looked at me, his eyes soft but still full of adrenaline. Wow, you're incredible, Emily. I laughed softly, breath catching. We did it together, I said. The boy looked up at me, tears still glistening, and whispered, I think I believe in people again. And in that moment I realized that's the real victory. Not the fight, not the chase, not even surviving the night, but giving someone hope, showing them that kindness and courage can exist even when the world seems against you. Veronica's voice broke the quiet again, gentle but final. Remember this night. Remember what it means to choose well even when it's hard, because your choices, they define who you are. I exhaled, heart full, spirit lighter than it had ever been. Tonight we had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty. Tonight we had chosen kindness, courage, and love. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to change everything. But deep down I knew one thing: life always has another choice waiting. Another test, another chance to rise, and when that comes, will we be ready? Tell me something. Where are you listening from tonight? Drop it in the comments, because this space, we built it together. We've become a little family here, lifting each other up through stories like this. I'll be reading every single one, so come sit with us. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe so you never miss a night with this family.